Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This is the Jeanine Pirro Show. Now, here's Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Welcome back to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Joining us now is author and speaker Tim Elmore. He is an individual, folks, who has written, as I understand it, 39 books. He's now working on his 40th. I have no idea how he does it. He is a founder of Growing Leaders, an Atlanta-based nonprofit organization created to develop emerging leaders. And he does a lot of speaking, Home Depot, Coca-Cola, Chick-fil-A, the San Francisco Giants, Buffalo Bills. He is very diversified himself. And I think that he's going to give us some insight with this new book, the author of A New Kind of Diversity, Making Different Generations on Your Team a Competitive Advantage. So, Tim Elmore, welcome to the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. I was fascinated with the idea of this new kind of diversity having nothing to do with race, but more a generational diversity in terms of the workforce. And, you know, right now we have this sense that Gen Zers are not really interested in working, but, is that true or not true?
It's a great question. And obviously the answer is it depends on which one you talk to.
Depends, right. I agree.
But when I did my research, both qualitative and quantitative research, the big word that came up is Gen Z looks at work like their hobby. And employers will go, your hobby, Josh, this isn't a hobby. I need you here at 8 o'clock. But think for a minute, Judge, real quick. Think about the last time you had a really fun hobby, one that you just could hardly wait to do it. You know, a train set in the basement or collecting cards or whatever. Isn't it true? You had a passion for it, and you could hardly wait to get to it. And your best work might happen at 10 p.m., not 10 a.m. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, bosses, what if we profile this as, let's make it something you're passionate about, like a hobby. Now, you might have to say, I need you here starting that hobby at 8 o'clock. But I think their work ethic is just very, very different than a Xer or a boomer, and we're going to have to maybe use a different language.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because, as soon as you said, what was your favorite hobby? I mean, what did you love? What was your passion? My favorite hobby was my job when I was a prosecutor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I'd get up and I couldn't wait to get to work. But, today, I mean, there are so many things that are different, whether it's the results of the pandemic or remote learning or the belief by a lot of the Gen Zers that, let me just load up on the credit card. I'm not going to be able to afford a home anyway. And now we've got to get these young people into the office. A lot of them don't want to go into the office. They don't think they have to work. They should be remote and work on their laptop. How do you change that?
Well, I think the answer is probably going to be in the middle in the long run, where we do have to adjust a little bit as employers and leaders and say, all right, let's see what we could do, maybe hybrid. But
why? I'm an employer. I don't want you to be hybrid. I want your butt in the office, and I want to see you working.
Sure. Well, and I share that. I'm a baby boomer, and I understand that work ethic. Here's what I would say we have to remember. We have to remember what's sacred. If getting the job done is more important than hours clocked in, let's baptize that. Let's say, all right, if you can get the job done better wherever, then it doesn't matter to me. Now, some jobs have to be there, and that's where you can't negotiate. You just need to say, I need you here. By the way, this is one thing I always say. When you're hiring a Gen Zer, I use the acronym PERKS, P-E-R-K-S. Mm-hmm. You need to talk over preferences, expectations, requirements, keys to their heart, and then of course, salary. But I think you need to find out early on, are they making demands that it's, remote work or hybrid work? If they do, and you can't do that, you need to say goodbye right away. And that maybe that's why we need to develop some backbone and be willing to do that.
But I think there's also another issue. When you work with a Gen Zer, I mean, they have, to me, and I could be wrong about this, but they have to be told they don't have an initiative, a lot of them. They just kind of do perfunctory, I have to do this, this, and this without getting into the why or the what or the how or, I just let me do this. There's got to be a different language or something. Forget about the location of where they're working. There's something that is so intrinsically different, and there's got to be a way to bring them out.
Yeah, there is. Let me give a couple of thoughts that might be helpful to listeners. One is many of them come into their careers with absolutely no work experience. And by the way, that might be mom and dad's fault. They might have said, focus on academics, and my gosh, the greatest asset I had when I started my career is I've been working since I was 12, throwing newspapers on driveways or whatever.
Yeah.
So just remember, it may not be their fault, but we're going to need to listen and coach a little bit more. But the second thing I would say is I wonder, because they're coming in so different, if we just need to realize we've not been in their echo chamber and they've not been in ours. Mm-hmm. So the analogy the analogy I often use is if you and I hopped on a jet and flew to Vietnam, I'm making this up here, but flew to Vietnam. As we got off that plane, would we not be psyched up to work a little bit harder to connect with people there because they have different customs, different language, different values? That's what I'm saying. I think Gen Z interaction may feel like a cross-cultural interaction. Mm-hmm. And if I'm willing to do the work in Vietnam, why can't I do the work right here? Now, it's going to have to go both ways. But I really encourage leaders to let me do the work because this 22-year-old represents the future.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. Are you feeling stuck at work? Get your team unstuck with Loom video messaging and move work forward. Use Loom to simultaneously record both your screen and yourself to share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at Loom.com. That's LOOM.com.
This episode is brought to you by Buick. When you have 4 new tires, every drive feels fresh. Right now, buy 3 select tires and get 1 for just $1 during the Buick Certified Service Fresh Start Tire Event. Visit Buick.com/service offers or see dealer for full details. At participating U.S. GM dealers only, highest or equal value tire will be $1. Offer ends 5/31/2025. Not available with other offers.
And now, 2 pigeons bemoaning the fact you can choose the TV you want with DirecTV.
So now they can pick out their favorite entertainment when they sign up and save money?
You mean if you like sports?
You can get a sports pack.
What about entertainment?
Entertainment pack.
It's like finding an old pizza with your favorite toppings, which for me would be pineapple and toenails.
Pineapple?
Pay for the TV you want, not the TV you don't. Genre pack starting at $34.99 a month. Visit DirecTV.com for more information. New residential customers only. Local channels vary by market. Services renew monthly unless you cancel online. Credit card required. Restrictions apply.
Well, Tim Elmore, the author of this book, A New Kind of Diversity, there was an article in the, I believe it was in the Post, and it was how to get men back into the workforce.
Yeah.
Apparently, 1/10 of the men between the ages of 25 and 54 are neither working nor looking for work. Yeah. And there is a belief by some that the trade policy, and the tariffs will, in the long term, get men back to work who are not in the workforce to do what they consider to be more masculine jobs. How does that play into this? Go ahead.
This is deeply concerning to me, as it sounds like it is to you. I feel like just like Title IX way back in the day, 50 years ago, helped women position themselves much better and much more fairly. I wonder if we're going to need to really pay attention to this issue in the same way we did women. Men are falling behind. Less males are enrolled in college, which may mean the wife in a marriage is the breadwinner, and maybe he's not. And will that be okay with his ego? But I do believe what this New York Post article implies. We're going to have to take some steps to pull out those men that somehow believe that I'm entitled to a freebie when really my best version of myself is going to come out when I use my gifts and talents and apply them, to earning an income.
Yeah. Yeah. In your book, A New Kind of Diversity, you talk about the 6 metaphors that connect the generations. Describe like survivorship bias and the lessons it teaches us.
Yeah, well, survivorship bias came, I think, from wartime decades ago when they were studying where the bullets were in the airplane and maybe we need to do something about those bullet holes. And somebody said, wait a minute. Those are the ones that fell through and the plane still landed. We need to look at what we're not looking at right now. So I offer some metaphors, Judge, that I really believe help at least us as leaders mentally prepare for leading a very, very, very different generation. So one is chess, not checkers. I think leaders need to play chess, not checkers. Both of those games are played on the very same game board, right? But they're very different games. When I play the game of checkers, all my pieces look alike. They all move alike. So I treat them all alike. In chess, if I have any hope of winning the game, I have to know what each piece can do, that a bishop and a knight and a rook and a king and a queen all do something different. I think we're going to have to do the work to play chess with our different generations on the team, not checkers. Don't just bark out orders, but find out who am I leading and what's the best way to get the very most out of them. So that would be one metaphor. Another one I think we're going to have to practice is guide dogs or guard dogs. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but stay with me. We have given canines many, many jobs, service jobs over the years. 2 of the most popular are guard dog and guide dog. Very different jobs.
Right.
The guard dog's job is to protect, right? They're barking at intruders, growling at noises. The guide dog's job is to partner. They're attached to a person that can't see very well, maybe not at all. Here's what I know about our brains. As humans, whether we're leaders or not, when our amygdala starts kicking in and we're scared about the situation we're in with tariffs and taxes and everything else, we turn into guard dogs. We get protective, self-protective, and we hold our cards close to the vest. I think what people need from leaders is a guide dog, that I'm willing to be vulnerable and go first. I'm willing to take someone that can't see what I can see and lead the way. That's counterintuitive, but I think we got to do it. One more real quick. I think leaders need to be quarterbacks, not referees. Now, this is crazy, but when you look at a football game, when you watch a football game, there's referees. We need them to keep people in bounds and throw flags and call fouls. But the quarterback, oh, my gosh, his job is totally different. Let's move the ball down the field. Let's get the team into the end zone. I think when we're anxious, we as leaders turn into referees. Think about your parenting. Parents turn into referees, throwing fouls, throwing flags. I think people need quarterbacks that say, let's move the ball down the field. This is we, not me. Maybe that's just some conscious shifts we need to make.
Yeah, but there's also, I think, value in, as you call it, reverse mentoring.
Yes.
And I think that it's important for us to find out what young people who are in the workforce working with us, for us, how do they comprehend things? How do they, when I ask for something and they don't deliver, is it because they didn't understand it? And maybe I need to understand what's going on in their head.
Yeah, no doubt about it. In fact, I tell the story in the book about Tony Pellicino. Tony was a senior in college a few years back at Ohio University when he took a part-time job at a paint store. Also during his senior year, he got on TikTok. I like to say, of course he did. But while he's working this job, after his shift was over, he started, taking videos of himself mixing blueberries with white paint and making a vivid shade of blue, and that was really cool, and he'd post it on TikTok. Well, his account during that year went viral. In fact, when I say viral, by the time he had 1.4 million followers and 37 million views, he thought, oh my gosh, this could help our business. We could monetize this.
Right.
So young Tony puts a slide deck together to make a little presentation to the executives on how this might gain 1.5 million more people looking at what they're doing. But Tony did not get one person, one leader interested in talking to him, didn't get one set of eyeballs to look at his slide deck. Tony did get something he didn't expect. He got fired.
Really?
Those older leaders were just sure he was stealing the paint and doing this on company time, and probably just, how we kind of think the worst sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, get this. Tony gets fired. He graduates, moves from Ohio to Florida. I just checked. He's now got 2.1 million followers, and he started his own paint store.
Great story.
Wild?
Yeah.
So
great story.
I say is, there's lots of things we don't understand, but here's one thing I do understand. Would have been good for them just to listen. Just listen a little bit. I know we feel like they don't know a lot, but they're bringing a whole other angle that we might need.
I absolutely agree with that. I think we need to listen more to them because they have a lot of value to add. And, I understand from your book, A New Kind of Diversity, Tim Elmore, that the alpha generation, those who were born after Generation Z, is predicted to be an even more complex generation. I mean, other than our getting in and teaching them ourselves, which we have no option to do, how do you suggest approaching them? What do you think is going to happen with them?
Well, when I look at the data, I know a couple of things. One is, as adults, the alpha generation is going to interact with robots as much as they do humans. This will be normal. Just like cell phones were normal for millennials, smartphones were normal for Gen Z, AI is going to be normal for the alpha.
You are so right. Oh, what a great point. Tim Elmore, the book is A New Kind of Diversity, making different generations on your team come together for the competitive advantage. I want to thank you, Tim. Very interesting conversation, a very necessary conversation, and we appreciate your time. Anyway.
My pleasure.
Take care. Up next here on the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation show, I will gavel out with my closing argument. It's all coming up here on the Red Apple Audio Network.
It's the Judge Jeanine Show.